Kate Herbert. Lovely to see you again,
And
Kate.
you. Lovely to be back with you in the room.
What have you been up to since I saw you last, or in the last couple of weeks?
Well, the last 2 weeks, yes. Well, immediately after I was in last time, the day after, I saw the new play by inimitable playwright Jack Hibbard.
Oh, he's wonderful.
Absolutely wonderful, and a wonderful man who used to come and donate his time to come and talk to my community theatre students many years ago.
Did he?
So, yes, wonderful. And this new play is called Killing Time. So it's the most recent piece he's written because there was a bit of a lull. I was looking at how many he's written over the years. I'll talk about that later because there's a bit of a flurry of older artists producing and being in work. It's unfortunately finished. I'm hoping it comes back. It was at La Mama Courthouse until last Sunday. And it's a really terrific piece in Jack's, as I said, inimitable style with his wit and style, and Jack is back, or rather he's still around. You can't stem the flow of this work. I think he was working as a GP a lot of the time in the interim because he is a doctor.
So he's still active as a doctor?
Well, he may not be now. He's in his 80s. Hi, Jack. Hope you're listening. It's a two-hander. It's directed with what I'd describe as comic flair and wit and intelligence by Dennis Moore, who's another one of these older artists that I'm talking about. When I say older, I'm in that package as well. Jim Daly and Dom Bridges, two wonderful actors, feature in an existential crisis for two men. So it is in the area of Beckett. We talked about Happy Days a few weeks ago, which is on at the MTC. So they deal with the achingly slow, frustrating passing of time and their own relentless march towards death, I suppose. But it is absurd, it's comic, it's black, it's a wonderful piece. It's Jim Daly's Father Time, but he does seem to have a sense of time ending as well. He's a pompous, snobbish Englishman. Prides himself on his taste and his schooling at Charterhouse and his knowledge of classical music and literature. He's probably getting it all wrong. He bellows for his factotum, who's called Todd. That's Dom Bridges. And if you think about Todd Malone on your own, bit of a pun, until he remembers that Todd's dead and buried. He's calling out Todd. But just to prove that nothing is known or immutable, scruffy old grumbling Todd shambles in. He also thought he was dead. He goes, yeah, I thought I was as well. It is, that's really funny. So there they are in this sort of rather strange, claustrophobic, black bricked, really tight space. It's designed by Greg Carroll. He gets abused. Father Time, Jim Daly, just keeps abusing him in his pompous voice. He's sitting at a coffin instead of a table in his smoking jacket, ordering Todd to bring him cognac and food and massage his legs and then spraying him with a soda bottle and whacking him over the head with a hammer. And then he makes him be a stand-in for his lover during Wagner's Ride of the Valkyries. That's his quirky aphrodisiac. Sorry, I can't help laughing. It was very funny. I was sitting with someone else. We laughed at all the same moments. It was fun to be allowed to laugh. So the status relationship does change on occasion. It swaps when Todd asserts some power. So he's not always the doormat. And as is common in other Hibbard plays or works, it centres on the existential crisis. And he's not immortal, Father Time. He and Todd are marking time, treading water, killing time while it's slowly killing them. It's a wonderful Hibbard thing. I'll talk.
Is it as bleak as the end of Waiting for Godot, which I always feel absolutely desolate at the end of that play.
It is bleak. There's a lot of stillness and silence and waiting time at the end of this and sort of dim lighting, etc. But it doesn't have quite that same grim ending, nor the Happy Days ending where it becomes really dark and she's trapped up to her neck in a mound. But unfortunately it's over. But if you want anyone, I must remember to remind people if they're interested in more of the content of my reviews, look at Kate Herbert Theatre Reviews because I keep forgetting to say it. They're all there.
Pity. I do hope they have a reprise.
Oh, so do I. I might write to La Mama and say,
yes.
Bring it back. So I will talk then about something else in a similar vein, and then I want to talk about this sort of resurgence of older actors before we, close today, because it's been on my mind a lot and it's exciting. This other is Worstwood Ho. Yes, Worst, as in best worst. Worstwood Ho. It's adapted from a Samuel Beckett novella, the very last piece of prose writing that he wrote, by Victorian Theatre Company. It's with Theatre Works. It's at the Explosives Factory. Terrific little space in St Kilda. So it's a challenging performance for both the actor, solo actor Robert Meldrum, and the audience. It's compelling, it's inspiring, and he's mesmerising in its solo 60-minute work. Defies description, but I'm going to have a go. As I said, adapted. Got the, again, human existential dilemma also, like Hibbert, but Beckett worked on that for his life, I think. It's non-narrative, it's abstract, it's non-linear, it demands our full attention. So he's an unnamed man. He's wrestling with words and their meaning and wrangling language into new patterns and syntax and poetic forms. And in fact, he begins with just single words. No, back, up, stand. We're trying to make meaning of it. And as we are meaning makers, we do formulate some sense of what's going on. There's a body, there's a man, he's standing, he's kneeling. Then he starts imperceptibly using phrases and sentences and describing what's happening. And he's grappling with existence itself, or the end of existence, really. He's facing the shades, the dim, the void, the gulf. He sees a bowed-back old woman. He sees an old man with a child. He sees his own skull staring. It's absorbing, and his honey tones are beautiful to listen to. He's just wonderful to watch and listen to. It's directed by... Sorry, go on.
Does he get the audience in? Starting off with single words.
Oh, they're
involved straight away?
They're leaning forward. I mean, we're all a bit startled and confused and bemused, and then slowly the dim starts to clear a bit for us as well. But it is about... Richard Murfitt directs it. He also did the lighting, because the lighting designer dropped out apparently. Beautiful lighting, shadows, shades, dim, dark. He goes into blackness and out again. Look, I think it's a must-see, and that runs till the 3rd of June. Look on the TheatreWorks website. I think that's terrific. What I wanted to say, I'm not going to talk about the Rocky Horror Music Show this week because, sublime to the ridiculous. Next fortnight, that runs longer.
We're into Beckett this week.
Yeah, and into older actors too.
Well, that's
because
good too.
We've had Worstwood Ho with Robert Meldrum and Richard Murfitt working on that. Killing Time, Jack Hibbard, Jim Daly, Don Bridges, and Cavalcade the fortnight before I talked about with Philippa. William Henderson directed it and created it on paper, and Peter Houghton and Tom Considine are the actors. And they're all actors, I don't know, of a certain age, who I've seen for many years in independent and fringe and main stage performance. But Robert Meldrum, Richard Murfitt and William Henderson all taught at VCA in the drama school for many years. Rob was acting head, Richard was directing head, and William taught, I think it was called Research and History of Theatre, that area, for a long time. He has his own space in Fitzroy. But it's so exciting to see their skill and their technique and the vocal qualities. They're all doing this absurd style, this existential dilemma, dealing with people and waiting and time and abstracts and form and voices and actors in space. And I look at some of the other shows I'm seeing and think, please, can somebody train these people with all of these techniques?
So you think the technique in acting has deteriorated over recent years? Or the training?
I'm saying ... Yes, I do in some institutions, and I know that at some stages I look at shows and look at where they're trained, and I can see that some institutions are not featuring much anymore since the training has changed and people have left. Particularly vocal training. They might be doing a lot of physical training or devising training, but the vocal skills, speech, so not necessarily there.
Get heard in the back row, that sort of...
That, and just think about singing, rooting the voice in the body, finding the voice within the whole body, finding the range of voice, just finding sort of upper and lower registers and different pitches and volumes and paces, but it's technique, it's acting technique.
Well, it's very reassuring that older people are not on the shelf yet.
No, and well, they're creating their own stuff as well, but smaller companies are staging these, or they're doing it themselves.
That's fantastic.
Yippee.
Kate, thanks so much for coming in and chatting with us. You'll be back in a couple of weeks.
I will.
Lovely, thank you.